In many Eastern philosophies, the ultimate ascetic ideal is an absolute spiritual vacuum. To reach it, a person must abandon material luxury and sever all human connections to exist in perfect, undisturbed silence. Sanatan Goswami had achieved this state. He walked away from Chapan Bhog, the traditional feast of 56 distinct dishes, to live in an isolated, bare-bones meditation hut. But his perfect isolation is repeatedly interrupted by his only companion, a physical manifestation of the divine, known as Thakurji. Instead of offering cosmic secrets, this deity treats the monk like a personal chef. When Goswami bakes a plain, flat bread called a tikar, the deity complains and demands a little ghee. Later, he asks for a side of salt. After 101 days of this routine, the deity makes a highly specific request. He instructs Goswami to go to the market, buy a single potato, roast it in the fire, and mash it with salt to make a warm chutney. A man sacrifices his entire worldly existence to find spiritual silence, only to have the supreme master of the universe respond by acting like a demanding foodie. Goswami looks at this potato and sees a trap. The complex material world he explicitly escaped is being stealthily rebuilt inside his meditation space. Human attachment operates on a slippery slope. If he gives in to this request today, the grocery list will grow tomorrow. This chart maps Goswami's spear. It begins with a single node, the potato. Tomorrow, the timeline branches to tomatoes, culminating in rabdi, a rich sweet. Preparing these complex meals consumes the exact mental bandwidth reserved for strict spiritual discipline. Caught between two opposing forces, love requires active material providing. Renunciation requires an absolute void. The math is uncompromising. He must either submit to domestic servitude to a hungry deity or forcibly evict God to save his spiritual practice. Goswami makes his choice. He picks up the deity and marches out of his isolated hut toward the village. He arrives at the home of Maya, a local caretaker. He knocks on her door and hands the divine manifestation back to her. He tells her he cannot keep a Chitoro, a greedy, demanding god. He complains that he left his entire life behind for emptiness, and this deity is trying to settle a whole new world right in his hut. He tells Maya to keep him. He states with absolute finality that he no longer wants the deity. He walks away, believing he has successfully banished God in order to achieve perfect spiritual silence. The moment Goswami turns his back, he believes he has secured his peace. Then the deity animates. He leaps forward, wraps his arms tightly around Goswami from behind, and refuses to let go. He tells the bewildered monk that he will stay with him. He makes a final vow to remain entangled, overriding the monk's desire for isolation. This diagram compares two different approaches to the divine. On the left is the ascetic model, a rigid wall separating the material world from the spiritual. On the right is the bhakti model, where that boundary dissolves into intertwined, messy, and overlapping connections. These demands for salt and fire-roasted potatoes functioned as a mechanical stress test. Each request was designed to crack the cold shell of Goswami's asceticism and force him back into the world. Strict rule-based spirituality focuses on absolute detachment. The Bhakti tradition, however, seeks a demanding and active intimacy. The highest form of devotion occurs when the divine willingly abandons its majesty, just to playfully, stubbornly demand our unconditional love.